Hi guys, welcome to Draw My Nails episode 18. If you're new here, this is the series where you guys draw me a nail design and I try to recreate it in real life. If you saw last week's episode, you'll know that I am doing a second video out of the previous round of submissions that I got. I don't usually plan to do this, but I just ended up loving so many of them and I really wanted to do them. So 2 episodes in a row it is. After doing a ton of sculpting in last week's episodes, I'm gonna do a little bit more hand-drawn art today. Of course, we'll still have a little sculpting, as always. So before we get into the first design, I want to thank today's sponsor, Regal Rose. Regal Rose is a UK-based jewelry company. What I really love about this brand is I feel like all the designs are so unique. Each piece looks so carefully crafted, it almost looks like a one-of-a-kind piece. And they make these really cool curated collections. They release 2 big collections a year as well as some smaller drops on Valentine's Day and Halloween. And y'all know I'm going to be looking out for that Halloween collection. This month they launched their Morphos collection, which this beautiful necklace is from, as well as all of these rings. As you can see, they do make big, bold statement pieces, but they also do make more delicate and daintier ones as well. This Twisted Roots one is going to be a staple that I wear with everything. I love this collection. I feel like it makes me feel like I'm a fairy in a meadow or a dark forest or something. Now, they don't only have necklaces and rings, they also have earrings, which I would put on and show you, but I accidentally let my ears close up. Now that I've showed you their newest collection, let me show you my 2 absolute favorite pieces, and I know you guys are gonna love this too. Now, aside from just looking cool, these are mood rings. Well, I guess this one's a ring and this one's a necklace, but you get the idea. And of course, you get the little mood telling card. Okay, let's see what it says. I would call this a dark blue, so it says passionate. Of course, the mood telling aspect is fun, but the settings are so beautiful themselves and so unique. And although I've showed you everything in gold, most of their pieces come in both gold and silver, and the gold is gold plated. A couple of other really cool pieces I got are this heart ring, which will go with everything, as well as these really cool coffin rings. You'll notice their whole aesthetic ranges from gothic to like ethereal to, you could say, regal. If you liked any of these pieces or want to see more of what they have, and they have a ton to look through, I will of course link them down below, as well as you can use my code QueenEmily20 for 20% off. Now, this code will only be valid for 1 week, so if you're interested and want that discount, make sure to grab what you want within a week of me posting this video. Also, I want to clarify that I did not pick the coupon code. You're gonna see me wear these pieces a ton. But now let's get back to the video and I'll show you the first design that I'm going to do. So before that, you may have noticed this design on my hand while I was showing you the jewelry. This design is from Elliot, and because I wanted to do my nails to show you guys the jewelry, I didn't want to show it to you with like my bare fingers. I decided to do one of your designs because it's Draw My Nails. So I just decided to do like a whole hand of it and it turned out super pretty. Okay, now let's get into the first design. Okay, so for our first design, I would say this was by far the funniest one that I got. It's by Morgan Fleurs. And I just think it's so funny. It's never something I would have thought to put on a nail. And I don't know if I've ever talked about it before, but I used to be obsessed with Twilight. I'll talk about it more while I do the nails, so let's get into it. So for this nail, I'm gonna use a flatter tip. That way it's a little bit easier to draw, hopefully. So we'll just pop this on really quick. Don't need too much since this is a flatter nail. This one is the, trying to think. Maximum Square, I believe, on eNail Couture, and these ones are pretty flat, so if you have flat nail beds, they're for you. Is that straight? Close enough. I'm gonna just cut a tiny bit off. Okay, base all ready to go. I'm gonna start with my F Gel Black. And then a nice long cure. Give that a wipe. This one I don't think has much of a sticky coat anyway. All right, I am really nervous for this because I feel like, you know what, this design would be hard for anyone, I would like to think, not just people who aren't the best at nail art. I am going to leave the text for last, so we'll just focus and get straight in on Edward. Oh god, this is gonna be hard. I did not think about this before I put this on, did I? Nope. Sure didn't. Okay, so first I feel like I should, for the most part, just block everything out. So I'm gonna do that in white. So we'll start off shoulders. Oh, I think that's too far. Up. Take 2, shoulders. Okay, that looks good for like the face. So we also have to account for the hair. Why does that look like just like long hair? That'd be perfect if that's what I was doing. The nice thing about the black background is I can always go in afterwards and refill that in black, and that shouldn't look too bad. But I'm just gonna go ahead and block all of this in white for now. I'm gonna grab out some of my nude colored gel. I don't know exactly what I'm gonna use this one for, but first I'm gonna just use it to sort of mark out where everything is gonna go. I don't wanna use black because I don't want it to be too dark. So I feel like just like a light pinky beige shade is good. So we're gonna need like where the shirt is gonna go, which would be about here. You guys can probably barely see that because I can barely see that. And we'll need his face. Go like that. I'm having a super hard time deciding where to start on this, so I think I'm gonna start with the shirt. I have my little blocking done for my outlines, and let's get into it. Okay, so I'll just do the entire thing blue. So I don't know about any of you. I am sure that some of you are gonna be able to relate hard to this, just because I know that there's plenty of us out there. But when I was younger, like when the movies were coming out, me and my friends were absolutely obsessed with Twilight. All right, now I'm gonna attempt to just outline this. I've never really been a huge book reader. I really just prefer to like listen, but I've read every single one of those books. I could not tell you how many times. We went to every single premiere after Twilight. We went to like New Moon, Eclipse, Breaking Dawn Part 1, Breaking Dawn Part 2. Every single one. We were so obsessed for years and years and years. I don't remember exactly if this was like just Twilight or it was like Twilight, New Moon, and Eclipse. Probably not because we were pretty young. But me and one of my friends, we would get off of school and every single day, and when I say every day, I mean like every day for like almost a year, we would come home and watch Twilight. Like literally get home, make some popcorn, put it on, watch it, and then probably like do homework or hang out a little bit, and then she would go home. And now I don't really live in the same state as a lot of my longtime friends. So usually now whenever I see her, like she's visiting or I'm visiting, we will still watch Twilight just because it's lots of fun nostalgia. Now, one of their clarifications that they said was try to make the skin sparkle. So basically my plan is to take one of the more syrupy nude colors and mix in a little bit of some like white shimmery pigment. Funny enough, this is like an OEM white. So if you have a white sparkly car, it's probably pretty similar to this color. Not much, but just a teeny tiny bit. Enough to give it a little, you know, razzle dazzle. And then a tiny bit of glitter. Just not much. I don't want this to be chunky whatsoever, but just something so if you like catch it in the sun a tiny bit, it'll show. Hopefully I can get this looking how I'm picturing. It's kind of hard to mix up custom colors in like tiny amounts, but I just don't really need that much for the skin right here. So it's like, obviously I want to give it a little bit of color, but he's really pale. So, okay, hopefully that'll be good. I did have to add a tiny bit more white pigment, but I feel like that's almost like a pinky pearly silver-ish color. So hopefully that should be perfect. It's a couple, you know, random little glitters. I think that will suffice. Okay, this can be trust the process. I know he looks really wide right now, and he may end up looking wide, but hopefully it'll still look better. I'll figure out the hair after. I feel like Snail probably could have been a little bit longer. I probably shouldn't have cut much off, but I just, in my head, I thought I was gonna be able to do this smaller. However, let's continue. So we'll do the eyes because I feel like the eyes will really set the spacing for the rest of the face. I'll have to also try to dig up a picture, but I know that one year my mom made me a Twilight birthday cake and it was intense. My mom has always been like a baker. She used to be anyway. I'm sure I'll be able to find a picture. You guys will see. But it was like a 3-tiered, like completely fondant wrapped cake. It was really cool. I don't quite remember, but I'm assuming that meant that that birthday was Twilight themed. And honestly, those are probably some of the best times of my life. Feel like doing that kept us out of shenanigans for a little bit. I'm gonna get out all my brown details. I'm gonna use these nice brown. These are a little bit more translucent too, more jelly gels. They're perfect for, I feel like, natural details on like people since they are these nice like warm tones. And it still looks scary, but I feel like it's coming together. It's gonna be a lot of little tweaking. Obviously the neck is not right. I might have to go back and add more blue for the shirt or something like that, but I feel like I'm gonna put it all down and then go back and do a bunch of little tweaks. And it's definitely not gonna look anything like what they drew, but hopefully the premise should get across. This is really hard, honestly. This is so tiny. I also remember that, I don't remember if it's Breaking Dawn Part 1 or Breaking Dawn Part 2. I think it's Part 2. And this is, I guess, a spoiler. But you know, if you haven't seen Twilight yet, that's kind of on you. But I remember that big fight scene that ended up just being Alice's vision. I remember in the theater we were watching, and once, I think it was Carlisle's head got ripped off and everyone's like shook, my friend started bawling. That was just a great time, but I don't blame her. That was a pretty sad part. Okay, so I did some touches on it and I'm honestly scared to show you guys because it's just not good. This is so hard. I think this is probably not gonna turn out like I'm hoping it looks a tiny bit better once I put like a top coat over everything, but this is just how it's gonna be. I can't tell you how long I've spent on this now, maybe 2 hours. I just don't have the skill right now, alright? So, but I'll show you, okay? Oh, I did add a little bit more glitter. I made him not look so wide. The face is just really hard. I feel like it's just hard because it's supposed to be like looking a certain way, and that's just not, you know, it's just not going well. All right, let's just move on. Next, not that it's gonna be easier, is the text. Maybe this will be better. I genuinely don't know. Okay, so I am honestly not gonna make you guys go through everything I just tried. I tried freehanding it, that didn't go super good. I tried just like writing it out and peeling it off, and I feel like that didn't work out very well because the spacing was really bad. And then I tried tracing it from my phone, and that didn't go very good. So I just took quite a bit of time off camera and wrote this out the best I could. It's not like the same nice flowy font just because those lines are so hard to get like super thin and flowy, but I did what I could. Honestly, I'm admitting defeat on this one. This is definitely not in my skill set. Maybe one day. Definitely not right now though. So lastly, I'm just gonna put a top coat on, and we'll put a couple rhinestones on because they said that some of the sparkles are rhinestones. I really should have thought this through a little bit more and just done this as a press-on. I feel like it would have gone at least a little bit better had I done it as a press-on and not on my actual finger. So perhaps I will consider trying it again at some point. But let's go on to something. Hopefully I can do a little bit better. Our next design is by Nee Nails 2. I think almost exactly a year ago I did my first stained glass nail design, and that's what this looks like to me, and I am still in love with that type of design. So I thought that this one was so pretty, as well as we have a couple little 3D elements, and I'm pretty sure I have some perfect molds for those flowers. So I'm really excited to do it. This one, I'm also doing a full cover tip. So I'll just pop that on really quick. Need more gel. Try that again. I'm gonna start with this with just painting it white. That way we have a nice, easy base to work on. To plan things out and do lines that I don't want like stark, solid black, I've been using this Jelly Black from Tiny, and it has been so helpful. I use that a bit on the shirt on this, and I feel like it makes such a good effect. So that's what I'm going to start out with. Okay, and let's get started. I'm gonna trace everything out first and fill it all in. So first I'm planning out the butterfly. I kind of am assuming anyway that this is a stained glass type nail, which is my absolute favorite. And I'm gonna try to have all of the lines for each piece be almost exact. I would love this to just be exactly what they drew. I know it's gonna, of course, just be like a tiny bit off, but you know, for the most part, be accurate is my hope. Whenever you're doing your nails and you're using a lot of gel, do you ever think about how much quicker it would go if we didn't have to cure gel? I feel like I think about that a lot. I know there's no other way, but just like even doing quick flash cures for these, I feel like I spend so much of my life with my hand in a lamp. Not complaining, I'm just saying. All right, I pretty much have most of my lines down. The rest of the lines pretty much are just in the butterfly itself. Try to just make those teeny ones really quick, just for reference. Absolutely tragic news, I smudged it. Okay, I think we're okay. So although this is not going to have an actual like see-through glass effect, I'm gonna use my jelly gels. I don't have exact colors in that jelly for some of these, so I'm probably just gonna lighten it up a little bit. And I'm gonna use my tiny set for the background because I feel like with jelly gels, they're a lot easier to get even over a white background. Like I could use like regular colored gel, but sometimes you need multiple coats, and with this I know for a fact I'm only gonna need one coat. And at the end I'm gonna go over everything with a solid black outline. I'm just gonna fill in everything first. Okay, I absolutely love how this is turning out. So for the butterfly itself, I'm going to use some different gels. They did clarify that I could use some glitter. So what I'm actually going to do is use these new Secret Nail Affair jelly glitters, and these ones have glitter in them and they are so pretty. They have the prettiest hollow glitters in them. I'll insert a clip of my nails. I have them on my nails right now and they are just so pretty. So I just need a tiny bit of pink to mix in, and then one purple and the darker purple. Now I'm just gonna kind of wing the ratios on these ones since I do not have that really planned out very well. I'm like literally holding my breath doing this. Like such tiny little pieces to fill in. Okay, and last little pieces to fill in. I feel like it's fun that the butterfly will have a little bit of sparkle. I feel like that's a nice touch. Of course, the whole thing would be pretty if it had sparkle everywhere, but I just feel like just the butterfly having it is a cute little detail. We'll set that into cure for a while. I need my hand to be steady. Now I'm going to go over all the rest of the lines and also make out the rest of the details on the butterfly. So here we are. Obviously we have some flowers to do and I'm gonna use a mold for that today. But you know, let's really quick just put on a top coat. I am using the Secret Nail Affair top coat. Okay, so thankfully I found the molds. I thought I was going crazy because I set them aside the other day because I knew I was gonna use them and they were missing. Both David and I searched for like half an hour and then they ended up being exactly where I thought they were and where I thought I had searched like 5 times, but apparently I hadn't even looked. I don't know. But this mold should be perfect because I'm pretty sure that in their drawing these are roses. Something nice about using the jelly gel in molds is it will cure even though it is a little bit thick. If you're using regular gel with molds like this, you have to make sure to do thinner layers or just do like the bottom layer and then the rest clear. Otherwise you risk it not curing all the way and it basically be like a little water balloon waiting. But I feel like the gels by themselves are still a little bit too dark, so I'm gonna mix them with my handy mixing gel, which is what this is probably for, and just kind of change the color a little bit every single time I refill these because they do have some varying colors here and these ones are so much better. They look like glassy and pretty. I am so happy I spent forever looking for them and I didn't just give up because otherwise I don't know what kind of flowers we'd have there. We'd have clear or something going on, but it wouldn't be these, but these are perfect. And I spent so long trying to make the nail exact, it would have been a shame if I wasn't able to do that with the flowers as well. So here we have them. Get a little bit of my rhinestone glue. And it's just like a little bunch of them. So just start it here. Not quite sure how to layer these that well. I feel like since they're flat on the back, it's kind of like awkward. Then I'm gonna go in with like the thinnest top coat possible just because these are still a little bit sticky. Yay, so pretty. I love it. Next up we have an anonymous design and I feel like at first glance this one looks doable, but really looking at all the details it seems really intricate, so I really want to test my nail art skills today. Lots of, you know, precise lines and, you know, it's sort of like a mirror imaged, so we'll see. I just think it's a really beautiful design. Okay, so for this nail I'm actually going to build it with polygel and do the ombre with polygel. They said that the base is like an emerald green and it goes to a like darker teal green. So I feel like it'd just be nice to have the base. So I felt like, you know, the best way to do that is just with some polygel. So I'm gonna just squeeze some of this out. I figure what I'll do is I'll make this green a bit darker and then I will put that on and then I will just add some blue to it. No, that one looks like yellow. I forgot that. I forgot this one looks yellow. Let's just see how it looks with that color and a little bit of black. I love using these little silicone things. I feel like now just mixing up stuff is so easy. Okay, well not easy, but it's a lot less messy. I should just honestly just like smush it together. We gonna get a green? Probably not. Okay, one moment. Let me go see. I don't have a lot of green polygel actually, surprisingly. Will this be the green we're looking for? I don't know. Well, it's not dark green, but it's at least more green than this bright yellow. I'm just gonna mix that in. Okay, new plan. I don't think I can actually make really the colors I'm gonna need easily without like a ton of trial and error. So I'm still gonna make the base from this green, and then I will just use some gel for the ombre, which I don't love doing. I do prefer not to do ombres in gel because I'm not very good at them. Let me just get my tip on. Okay, I'm gonna just put a base coat on now for the entire nail. I know my finger is red. I usually take off my sets a different day than I film because my skin gets irritated so easily, and it shows so easily because I'm so pale. So it'll calm down. And this is just a silicone brush that I'm using to pat it in and down. I still am dipping it in alcohol occasionally. You know, at least the base will be green already. That way it shouldn't be layers and layers and layers of gel to get a nice even layer to work with. Okay, looking good. Looks lumpy, but it'll look good once we file. I'm gonna file and we can get on with the nail art. It's been a good while since I've done any polygel, but I missed it. That was actually so easy. Gotta make sure to wipe the sticky layer off first. All right, smooth and ready. Okay, so I'm gonna use, again, my jelly gels. I know I use these all the time. I just feel like the fact that they're transparent makes everything so much easier. And like you have so much more wiggle room. So I'm not sure, because I know that this green needs to be more of like an emerald. So let's see if I just put this one on the top, how that looks. That an emerald? Not really, it's like kind of like the same color. Perhaps the darker green. There we go, that is more like it. And then I'm going to just feather this down. Look at me, I have an actual ombreing brush now. And then before I cure that, I think I should ombre the like dark teal in a bit. I may have to do a second coat of that, but it's looking good so far. Yeah, I'm gonna just add a little bit more blue. Looking at this, I honestly have like no idea where to start. I feel like there's so many layers, so many things going on. I think I'll start with this because I think this is a different color. And then this and this is the background. So I'm gonna start with this. We'll do this little, I guess it's not even like a French tip really. Well, it could be. I am, however, going to just smooth all of this out before I do any drawing because that would definitely be a rough surface to try to draw some straight lines on. When I went to cure, I just realized that this was still in there from earlier. I forgot to clean it out. So satisfying. Okay, this is gonna be a lot of mixing up colors because I feel like these are very specific shades of green. And although I feel like I have a good amount of like neon green gel, I don't have a lot of varying shades of green. And that's definitely gonna need multiple coats. I feel like though, the more I'm looking at it and trying to plan out what I'm gonna do, the easier it is to decipher the different layers. I am slowly trekking along. Realized I have to make like a dark bluish teal now. Although I think that the end that I did my tealish color at could have been a little bit darker, probably. So I think I'm gonna just like add, you know, some dark green to the blue and see what happens. Maybe we need a tiny bit of black. Well, that sure did something. Perhaps a little too much. There we go. That should work. I'm not quite sure if the person who made this modeled it after something, but I feel like to me it kind of looks like, why does everything look like a stained glass window? But I feel like it does. It looks like a really pretty window in like an old Victorian house. I would love a whole set of nails in this style, but I could not imagine how long it would take. Okay, so I've had to take a little bit of creative liberty with the lines and stuff like that because the ones that they did were just a little bit too fine for me, and I can already tell that these ones are gonna be really hard, so I kind of had to simplify things. I also got a little bit out of whack with the proportions, like that gold at the top is gonna not be as much as they showed, but overall I really like the design. I feel like it's so pretty and intricate, and I just love the pattern. So I'm really just doing my best to do all of these teeny tiny lines without erasing and redoing it 1,000 times. like I do. I feel like I'm at the point in the day now where my eyes are almost like going cross-eyed, trying to look at little lines. I feel like my lines slowly got worse and worse. So I'm just gonna do these little parts up here really quick. Again, these are gonna be way smaller than theirs because I did not space it super well. All right, I had to take a break, a short, unwanted break, because one of my dogs came in and knocked over one of my gel polish shelves. So that was fun to pick up. Anyway, let's get back to it. The other clarification they had was that the little yellow dots were rhinestones. So that's what we'll do. Just get my rhinestone glue there and along that. So that's pretty much where all the rhinestones are. Then I'm gonna just brush some top coat over that. And I think I'm definitely gonna go with like a bigger yellow-ish gold rhinestone to match what they have. Also, I know that these are all in little jars. Don't worry, I promise I have not organized all of my rhinestones and charms without you guys. I think that these ones are Hot Fix, but I'm gonna use it anyway because I put a pretty decent layer of my peel off base so I can keep these, so I don't really have to worry about them popping off. If you've ever gotten rhinestones from like a craft store or something like that and they always pop off, something you may have accidentally done was get Hot Fix crystals. And those are basically crystals with like an adhesive backing kind of, but they need heat and like a tool to adhere, and obviously that does not work for nails. So pretty. And here it is. It turned out so beautiful. This design, just A+. As always, sometimes there are themes that end up popping up in the submissions unintentionally. And aside from last week's jellyfish, the other theme that came up was Spider-Man, which I was a little confused about at first until my husband told me I guess a new movie is coming out or something like that. So that makes sense. I still don't know where jellyfish came from, but I got a couple Spider-Man designs, and this one is the one I chose to do. Sorry, I don't know how to say this at Mia02, hopefully. It's super well drawn, and I feel like for some reason, even though it's a Spider-Man theme, it's giving me a little bit Halloween vibes, which I'm already in the mood for because it's starting to get too hot for me, and I'm wishing we could go straight to fall, and that's kind of what this design reminds me of. All right, Spider-Man nail. I'm going to start with the base, and this is an interesting base. I feel like I don't see many red gradient bases on a French tip. I mean, I know this is a Spider-Man nail, but love the change. So I'm gonna go in with a syrup gel, and I'm just honestly gonna put this over the whole nail, and I'm gonna do 2 coats of that. That way it's a little bit more opaque. So for the ombre, I'm gonna try this really warm tone brown to fade down. Before I try to fade a red down, I just feel like this will look a little bit more natural. Not that this is supposed to look like natural, but you know, I feel like it'll just mesh a lot better. Maybe. We might end up having to blend like a dark red down, but who knows? With my handy ombre brush, this thing has been so useful. You guys know I always struggle with ombres, but this has been so much better. Ooh, I don't know about that. That does not, nope, it's not giving what I was trying to, nope. I'm not giving up hope on using like one of these like more neutral tone colors. I just think that one was just not the right tone. And I think I'm gonna do a really thin third layer of this. That way there is something to blend with on the nail. Okay, this one could work. Okay, you know what? I think this one is going to work. I'm gonna have to build it up a bit, but it's gonna work. Okay, that is turning out perfect. Okay, and now for the French tip, I need to actually mix my red because I don't have a red that dark. And we'll just mix it with these. All right, that looks good. Okay, French tip time. Okay, wow, that went better than expected. Exciting. Feel like after the Edward nail, everything started to go okay. That was just the nail that I was gonna not get today. And if that means I'm gonna get the rest of these, then so be it. And a quick second coat here. And then they did clarify that this is a glossy finish and the French tip is a glitter pattern. So I have a darker red. I'm gonna try to see if that will look good, and this is a reflective one as well. Okay, let's see. Ooh, pretty. Let's use this for sure. Okay, so the pattern they have on there is quite small, so I'm gonna kind of just go with my own thing a little bit on this. Kind of following what they have, but I think as we learned, I cannot do lines that small right now. M for Spider-Man. Okay, honestly, I'm just gonna do a swirly design, okay? It's subtle, but it's cute. Although you do have to pick up product so much with glitters like this because I feel like the glitter like runs out. Then I'm just going to do a top coat to seal everything in and level it out a bit so we can put the... I know for a lot of people it might seem irrational, but I am absolutely petrified of spiders, and it's honestly hard for me to even say it. Like if I hear the word before bed, like within an hour, I always have nightmares about it. I've always had a pretty bad fear of them, but I think that it got exacerbated in New Mexico when I lived at my mom's house for a bit. And she lived, it's not the middle of nowhere, but like the neighborhood just wasn't like super developed. And out there was a lot of, called them a bunch of different things, but we called them wind scorpions, but you might know them more as like camel spiders. And one thing about them is they will follow your shadow, so they quite literally will essentially be chasing you, and that is absolutely terrifying. And also they're huge. Okay, I don't need anything the size of my palm. Okay, might be a little dramatic. Actually, you know what? No, they were really big, and there were so many. Honestly, even just drawing this is making me feel a little like shivery. I feel like sometimes around like Halloween or like if I pick things like this, I kind of hope it's gonna like help me ease the fear a little bit, but it never does. Anyway, yeah, in New Mexico, they like follow you. They're huge. They're not poisonous or anything, but it's still scary. And then when I lived in Portland, our apartments, oh my gosh, those apartments were absolutely infested. There was always these giant webs everywhere. And I remember one time, to preface, I literally never ever will interrupt a meeting David is on, because like that's work, you know? Like I never interrupt anything. It can wait. I went to go in my vanity room to film, and there was one so big on the wall, like right in front of me, that I actually had David get off of his meeting to remove it because I could not bear the thought that it could disappear like while I was waiting. And then you know what, while I'm at it, I'm already on a roll with just talking about this. The other day, I was driving, and I was already having a really bad day. I think I've talked about this before, and someone said, like, you know, if you're scared of something, you're always gonna be extra hyper vigilant of it. But I just had a sense. I was, like, thinking about it, and I try not to think about them, but sometimes I just can't help it. I was driving through, like, a little bit more of a foresty area, so I was just like, ooh, probably a lot of them in here. I don't know. My brain sucks sometimes. And do you know what happened? You can probably already tell by the way I'm saying this. Yes, one crawled on me while I was driving. Thankfully, I did not crash my car, but I definitely was startled, and I like smacked it, and then it went on the floor, and I could not get off on the side because I was crossing over a bridge, and then it crawled on me again, and then I pulled off to the side. And I like opened the door. I was trying to hope it would just like walk out because it was kind of like on the floor. And people suck so much. I was not in the way. I was not even close to being in the way. I was off on the side, and I'm off. And I'm there, and I'm trying to get the courage to like get it out myself, or I don't know, wait it out or call David or something like that. And you know what people do? They honk. Made me so mad. Made everything so much worse. That was absolutely the last thing I needed. Anyway, that's my story that no one asked for. It eventually did crawl out. I almost left that out. And you know, I wish I could really just get over it, but I just cannot. And let's finish this off with a shiny top coat. And there we are. I love the glitter on the background. That was such a good idea. And last but not least, we have a really pretty flower design by Lyra. And all of the flowers are sculpted, so I feel like this is just gonna look really pretty. They said I can do whatever color base I want, but I'm definitely gonna leave it white just because I feel like everything's gonna really pop. And once again, I'm gonna use the molds, and I feel like it's just gonna look really good like that. I don't know, I feel like it's a simple, not simple design. So let's get into it. So the person did say that the background color doesn't matter, but I like the white that they did. I feel like it's gonna be a good contrast to all the other colors. They also did say sculpted, but as we saw last week, I probably cannot do all these different kinds of flowers and stuff, so I'm gonna use these molds, and these will just look so much prettier anyway. You saw me use some of the rose ones earlier, but I have actually so many different kinds of flowers and everything. I think all of these from Temu, but I have so many different options. I'm gonna do everything like as closely to the picture as I can. Some of the flowers they have there are a little different from here. I also already did these leaves earlier. A lot of times before I just like clean up my gel, instead of just like wiping it all off, I just like fill a mold or something like that, and I have like a little stash of them, but I just did these with that leftover green from earlier, and look at how perfect. These leaves came out so pretty. Oh, that rose is pretty. Okay, so I'm gonna just line all of these up, and we're just gonna kind of fill them as we see fit. So because, like I said, you don't want to just entirely fill things with like regular gel a lot of the time because it can end up not curing, I'm gonna do a layer and just cover all of the surface on these. And then I'll cure that, take it out, and then fill any remaining space in the back with just some of that clear mixing gel. Now you do want to clean up the edges, or you can clean it up afterwards, but I just think it's a lot easier to just clean it up while you can. Otherwise you're gonna have like all these really thin little pieces hanging off of all of your things. Then I also, listen, I don't know if the bubbles really come out a bunch or not, but sometimes they have bubbles, so I usually smack it down a couple times just for good measure. Doing that little orange flower now, and I feel like that one looks a lot like this one right here. And then it's definitely not the same, but I'm gonna make that purple and blue one now. Then we have like two little pinkish ones. I know those are supposed to be more like tulip ones, but I don't think that's possible in these molds, so we'll make some of these like little itty bitty teeny tiny ones. All right, now we have to fill the backs of these with the clear. You could also leave them hollow and like try to bend them if you want, like to your nail. I just know sometimes if they're too thin, they break when you take them out of the mold. If there's like, you can tell that it's separated a little bit right there. And sometimes like one part will come out and the other won't if you don't really fill in the back, or at least fill in enough to all of it together. And then, you know, I do have a good bit of extra gel here, so let's just use it up and fill in a couple extra of these. Alright, and here's all of the charms. I guess not charms, molds. I don't know what I'd call these exactly. I guess technically be charms. I don't know. Anyway, here they are. Some random, some intentional. I like the texture on this one. Very pretty. So now we must attach everything. I'm gonna take my rhinestone glue and honestly get a decent glob on there. And I'm gonna just brush it all out, but still try to leave it kind of thick. That way these can really lay on there well. And then a little bit of top coat. Okay, and let's stick them on. So we have a couple leaves. We've got a red rose. All right, which red rose should we do? Do the sparkly one? No, that one doesn't look that good. Let's do one of these. Just one. Then we have this blue one that definitely does not look that good. Orange, pink one, another leaf, this pinkish rose, another pink one up here. Then I would say like a couple little leaves. And these do, if you're using, you know, gel that's sticky, need to be top coated, but I would just make sure I'm doing it lightly because otherwise you can really start to lose some of the details in it. So you just want enough so it's not sticky. Also, they will like hang off and stuff, and because they're obviously made of just like gel, you will want to reinforce that or, you know, let it fall off. It's your life. I reinforced it and there we are. And lastly, of course, I cannot forget honorable mentions. There were so many pretty bright, colorful designs with like outdoor scenes and elements, and they were just so cute. The character designs were so good. Although I did not think I was going to be able to do these character designs justice. They're like too good for me to be able to actually create. This fruit design, which I think is so cool, but I don't think I'd be able to draw it. Maybe one day though, I'll put it in my vault to remember. As always, thank you so much to everyone who takes their time to submit a design. I literally could not do this series without you guys. Please make sure to give this video a like if you enjoyed it and you want me to keep doing this series. And again, of course, thank you to Regal Rose for sponsoring this video. My code as well as their link will be down below. Thank you again so much for watching, and I will hopefully see you next time. Bye!